Alright, so last week we were outside talking about the 3 different lights that you need to enjoy the outdoors. This week we're going to talk about the journey and the lessons that I learned to come to the system that works best for me. And the hopes of this video is by the end you will have an idea of all of the things that I have learned over the time, and you can take that knowledge and not waste it on the amount of flashlights and lanterns and headlamps that I had to along the way to learn what I learned. And starting off, I started off just like most people do, where I went to Walmart and I picked up what was readily available and inexpensive. And one of those things was this lantern right here, which is a Coleman Lantern. It is big, it is heavy, it runs on 4 C or D batteries, I don't remember. And even though it's big and heavy and huge, it's not even that bright. It doesn't even light up the tent that well. And the problem with this is because it was so big, because it was so heavy, because it was so awkward, I never used it. I always brought it with, but most of the time it just stayed in the vehicle. I never even brought it out of the vehicle to use it. Just stayed in there. And because of that, I knew that I had wasted my money, because I bought a lantern because I thought I needed one, not because I found one that actually worked. That was my first lesson. The other lesson is my first flashlights were those really thin plastic flashlights with a white button that you slide forward and back to turn it on and off. And I think they were very inexpensive, and I think they came in like a 2-pack or a 3-pack. And I literally broke one on every single trip. I think it came in a 3-pack. And I broke the first one on the first trip, the second one on the second trip, third one on the third trip, and those things were junk. And so I instantly had to upgrade. I didn't do any homework, I didn't research anything. I just went to Walmart, bought whatever was available for the cheapest amount of money, and I ended up not using one of the things and breaking all of the other. And so the first lesson I learned is that you got to kind of know what you're doing. Right? I should have done a little more research. I should have tested things. I should have asked people some questions. And from there, I went to a truck stop and I bought this. And now this, because of those red flashlights, I knew I needed something a lot more durable, something a lot more robust. And I liked this one because it's made out of aluminum. It runs on 3 AAA batteries, and it has on and off. It was very simple to use. It has all these LEDs. It's super bright. It's a very bright light, which I thought was really good. And this was my flashlight. And so, again, I would bring this with all the time, and I would have this flashlight. And the problem is this would be in my vehicle, and so I would only use this flashlight, and it was so bright, which was fine at the beginning of the night. But if I ever woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, or if I woke up early in the morning, this thing would blind me because it would light up my whole tent and it would just blind me. Or it would annoy everybody in camp with me because it was so bright. And so I didn't have any low mode. I didn't have anything. All I had was blinding light, right? So then back to Walmart I went, and I found this Rayovac light, which has low, medium, and high, and it only has one LED, where this one has a whole bunch. And this one, even high, is not nearly as bright as this one. And so I was able to put this on low and not annoy everybody, not be as blinded when I used it. And so this one is the one that I used most of the time. The only time I used this one is if I heard something over there, I could take it and shine a light and see what was over there. And yeah, so my first lesson was you probably are going to need more than one light capable of doing different things, and you shouldn't buy something just for the sake of buying it, right? And you'll notice that this becomes one of my lessons that I learned the hard way. But this lantern didn't work, and I thought about it and I thought about it. And I wanted a lantern. I wanted a way of lighting up the tent without holding the flashlight, because I was doing this a lot. Actually, I'd use this one. I was doing this a lot, and I was trying to hold it. My neck would cramp up, and I'd have to go back and forth. or I would try to put it in my mouth and hold it in my mouth while I was doing things. So I wanted a lantern to light up a lot of the area. Again, I wasn't familiar with headlamps and all the different lights yet. I was still fairly young and didn't know what was what. And so I went through a phase where I needed a lantern. And I was researching it, and I didn't have a lot of money to spend, and so I wanted to make sure that the lantern I bought was a good one. And so I found the Lucy light. And the Lucy light is awesome. It's solar power. It doesn't take batteries. You can't change the batteries. Once it dies, it dies. But I bought this in 2015, and it works today exactly the same as it did 6 years ago. So it just blows up, and you push the button, and it's got low, high, and blank. And this thing is awesome. It's way smaller, way lighter, way bright. This thing is better every single way. That big heavy thing, I didn't like it. And this lights up my whole tent. I use it when I'm hanging in the hammock. I put it on my ridgeline. I'm able to read, do all the different things that I want to do. I can change. I can set up my whole tent. I can make my bed. I can do everything in the dark because of this lantern. And ever since I bought it in 2015, this has come with me on every single trip. Comes with me on every trip. Comes with me on every day hike. I've used it in power outages. I use this thing all the time, and it just works. I really enjoy the Lucy light, and it was my go-to. And then that's when I got into YouTube. Now, I had a system that worked really well. I had my bright light, I had my dim light, I had my lantern. This all worked fairly well. And then YouTube, when you get into YouTube, not on YouTube, but when you're watching YouTube videos, you dive down this rabbit hole of lights where all of a sudden you're into 18650 batteries, you're into lumens, Nightcore, Phoenix, Olight, Through Night, Throw versus Flood. You get introduced to all these different things, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my kit and I'm all like, besides the Lucy light, my flashlights suck. Right? I wanted something brighter, I wanted something better, I wanted all these things, but I didn't have a lot of money to spend. But I did find this. And what this is an Ultra Fire flashlight. So these both ran on 3 AAA batteries. This one ran on an 18650, and the reason I bought this light is because I got the flashlight, an 18650 battery, and a wall charger for the battery for like $15, I think. And so it was very inexpensive, and I got it, and you can see it looks like new. Now I'm under the philosophy, I like to take care of my gear. If it looks like new, it works like new. So I like keeping it looking like new as much as possible. This looks like new because I never used it. I've never done anything with it. I have used it, but barely. This thing drives me crazy. And the reason is because if it's got low, medium, high, and strobe. And in order to get to whatever setting you want, you have to go through all the modes. So if I turn it on and it's on low and I turn it off, if I want it back on low, I have to go medium, high, low, or strobe, low. Okay, there it is. Or if it's on medium and I want it on low, I gotta go high, strobe, low. And you're constantly going through all of the modes to get to the one that you want. And because of that, I just quit caring. And when you quit caring, you're on low mode when you should be on a higher mode, but you don't want to screw yourself over in the future and be on strobe, because I did that a lot of times where I would go to my tent on high and then I'd turn it off, and then I'd wake up in the middle of the night or early in the morning, and then I'd be on strobe, and it'd be disorienting inside my tent, and everything would be strobing and driving me crazy. Or I'd see something over there and I would turn it on and it would start strobing, and yeah, this thing drove me crazy. I didn't like it, but it did teach me the value of rechargeable batteries, because of the AAAs I was constantly buying more AAAs, AAA, AAA, AAAs. And so this being able to, when the battery died, to just recharge it, go again, it was saving me money. And because of that, I knew that I wanted another 18650 battery that I could recharge with the charger that came with it. And so with that, I bought my first good flashlight. This is a through night. I don't remember what it is. It doesn't come with this bracket. I added that. I lost that one. I should take it off. But this flashlight right here was my first good flashlight, and I love everything about it. I don't think they make it anymore, which makes me sad because I would buy another one. I really like this light. And the thing is I'm not sponsored by Through Night. They don't know I exist. I am an affiliate, so if you go in the description box down below and use my link to purchase Through Night flashlights on their website, I do get a small commission for everything you buy at no extra cost to you. But other than that, I don't have anything to do with Through Night. I just really like their products, and I'm very brand specific. Same if you go in my garage, I have all DeWalt, because what I find for myself is I get caught up in the specs, right? And so like DeWalt has an impact, and I buy it and I'm excited about it, and then Milwaukee comes out with a impact that's a little bit better. Well, now I need that one, so then I buy that one, and then Makita comes out with a driver. It's a little bit better, and so then I have that one, and now I have 3 of the exact same tool for no reason whatsoever. It's just one's a little bit better than the other one. So I like to pick a brand, just stick with it, and because I liked this light so much, I decided that Through Night was going to be my brand. And so I have this that runs on an 18650, can run on 2 18650s, which doubles the time and makes the turbo mode much brighter. And again, I was under this thing where this would recharge, these wouldn't, and I was constantly buying AAA batteries. So I decided that I needed a flashlight that ran on a rechargeable battery. And because I had the wall charger that charged 2 batteries instead of using it to charge these 2, I bought another flashlight. I bought a TN12. And at this time, it was very important to me that all my flashlights use the same battery because I wanted to be able to interchange them. Okay? So I bought this and I use this all the time. You can see this one's beat up and worn out, and I took very good care of it, but I just used it so much that the paint started wearing off of it. And I really liked this light a lot, and it had low and it had high, and so this is the one that I used all the time. I used this one for everyone. I didn't really use this one, but the problem that I ran into next was I was putting it like this all the time, and my lantern was always in my tent, and I didn't want to take it out of my tent, and so I was constantly doing this. And I decided that I needed a headlamp to go hands-free. And all the people on YouTube were talking about the importance of making sure that you have the same battery and everything's cross-compatible. And so what I bought was a TH10. And this is a headlamp that runs on an 18650 battery. And this is my next mistake. I bought this because I felt it had to have an 18650 battery. It's literally the only reason I bought it. I bought it because it took the same battery as my flashlights. So if a battery died in my flashlight, I could switch it off with whatever. And because of that, this thing is super bright. This thing is super bright. When I used this, I would blind myself in my tent. It would reflect off my knife and blind me sometimes. I would look at somebody and blind them. It's super bright. It's also super heavy. And so as I'm doing stuff, it's constantly falling. I'm constantly putting it back, constantly putting it back. I'll be working with my knife and it'll slide down and then glare. And so it drove me crazy. And what it ended up being is just a battery holder. I hardly ever used it because I didn't want to deal with it. It was too heavy, it was too big, it was too bulky, it was too bright. And so it literally was just a battery holder. I literally only bought it because of the battery type. And I shouldn't have bought it Every once in a while I do still use this just because it does have a lot of throw. And so if I'm going to be walking on a trail or something late at night, I like using this because it lights up like the whole trail. I can see way down there. And so I still use this sometimes, but I would have been just as well off if I hadn't bought it at all. And so that was my next lesson as I fell into the hype. All these people were talking about how important it was to have batteries that were cross-compatible, that I bought something that I never use. And so because of that, I needed a new headlamp, okay? And I didn't want, it took me a long time to get past that battery issue. Everything needed to be the same battery because if this battery dies, I'm only left with this one flashlight, and if that dies, then I don't have anything. And so what I decided to do is I decided to get a charger, okay? So this is a through night. I don't remember. They don't make it anymore. But this it's a U1. This charger charges 18650s, AA's, AAA's, all the batteries, okay? And so this made me feel better because if I get rid of the headlamp, and the battery dies in this flashlight, I can just charge the battery. I'll just use this one while the battery is charging for that one, and then I'll always have a flashlight. I'll always have both flashlights. And so then that made me more comfortable dealing with not having all of my lights the same battery. And so I decided I needed a new headlamp. I needed one that I was actually going to use. And so one of the issues that I had with headlamps is a lot of them have red mode, and I wanted red mode because I was sick of blinding myself all the time. And I wanted red mode because red mode helps keep your night adjusted vision. And the headlamps, a lot of them have red mode, like most of them have red mode. And the problem is you have to put it in white mode to then put it in red mode. And so you turn it on, it's white and it blinds you, and then you can put it into red mode. And so you're losing your night adjusted vision to put it in red mode to save your night adjusted vision. And it didn't make sense to me. And what I ended up finding is I found this Princeton Tech headlamp with these little filters on it. So it comes with a red filter, a blue filter, a green filter. And so now what I was able to do is use the headlamp as a white one. It's not nearly as bright as the other one, but I could use it. And then when I went to bed, I would just flip up the filter. So when I woke up in the middle of the night or I woke up early in the morning, I could turn this on and it'd be red. And so it wouldn't blind anybody. It wouldn't blind me. It wouldn't annoy the people at camp with me. And this thing was awesome. But I was back to buying AAA batteries, and it was what it was. But what I did decide is I didn't want to carry this every single day. Okay? So this, even though I really liked it, I used it all the time. This was still my go-to flashlight. I wanted an EDC flashlight that was smaller, more compact, fit in my pocket better. And so what I bought was a Through Night T10. Now I had the original one, but I lost it, which is a bummer because I like the original one better than this one. I don't think they make the original one anymore. I think you can only get the V2. But I bought the little flashlight, and then I carried both of these. So I had a AA battery, an 18650, and AAA. And that's when I decided I'm not going to buy more batteries. I'm going to buy rechargeable batteries, and I'm going to use my charger to charge all the batteries. And so I bought rechargeable AA's, rechargeable AAA's, and then the 18650s were already rechargeable. And then I ran into my next problem, where my next problem was this charger had a hard time charging the AAA batteries. And so I'd put it in there and it wouldn't connect. I'd have to take it out, put it back in there a different way. I'd have to spin it to try to get it to connect so it would charge. And it was a pain in the butt. So what I found was this Olight charger. And the Olight charger is just magnetic, and it charges 18650s, AA, AAA's, all the different kinds of batteries. And so because of that, I now had a charger that was very small, compact, charged all of my batteries, and I liked this a lot. And the next problem that I ran into is, yes, this one is bright, but it's not as bright as this one. And so I wanted something with more throw. Okay, I wanted something that I could see further. So I got another upgrade, and this is the TC20. Now this one has a lot of throw, it has a lot of power, and it is USB rechargeable, meaning I can just plug into the flashlight. And this made my life a lot better because then I could charge a battery and this flashlight at the same time, meaning I could always have this topped off. And if my batteries died, especially my headlamp, because I'd have to charge them one at a time, that I would always have this one readily available. And so this really made my life a lot easier. But then the next issue came where I was charging these one at a time. So my headlamp would be out of commission for a long period of time because I'd have to charge one AAA at a time. And I decided the only reason I bought this is because it can charge 18650s and all the bigger batteries, and I don't carry the bigger batteries anymore. Right? I've carried this for a really long time for no reason whatsoever. And so recently I bought this. Now this only charges AA and AAA batteries. It doesn't charge 18650s, it doesn't charge anything. It only charges AA's and AAA's, but I only need it to charge one AA and 3 AAA's, meaning I can put all 4 batteries in here. I can USB charge all 4 batteries and my flashlight at the same time. With an Anchor battery pack, I can charge all of my lights at the same time. And that is my last lesson. I carried this because of a capability that I wasn't even utilizing. When I bought it, I was barely utilizing it. I had one 18650, but I could have easily carried one of these, which are much cheaper, and charged my little flashlight and my headlamp and had the capabilities. The only difference is because this and this work kind of interchangeably. And so I carried this for a long time for no reason. And so it's important for you to understand, what do you want? What do you expect your system to do? And what's going to give you both of those things? What's going to give you what you need? What's going to give you what you expect? Because it's not based on everything having the same battery. It's not based on having a lantern, a flashlight, and a headlamp. It's not based on having this, that, and the next thing. It's not based on anything. It's based on finding a system that works best for what you need and what you expect it to do. And so next week we're going to talk about the difference between solar charging flashlights, USB charging flashlights, and battery flashlights, what my opinion is on each one, and kind of give you an even better idea of how to find a system that works best for you. So thank you so much for watching. Like and share this video. Don't subscribe. Click on one of these videos and subscribe